On the 23rd of August 1939, German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop and Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov shocked the world when they signed the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact in Moscow. The agreement assured that neither side would attack the other. More importantly, the pact included a secret protocol that divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Poland was partitioned between the two powers. This agreement cleared the way for Hitler to invade Poland on the 1st of September 1939 and for Stalin to occupy eastern Poland shortly thereafter. The pact was a pragmatic move for both nations. Germany, fearing a two-front war, secured its eastern flank before launching its aggressive expansion in Western Europe. The Soviet Union, still recovering from Stalin's purges, gained time to rebuild its military while extending its sphere of influence westward. By mid-1940, Germany had achieved significant victories in Europe, including the fall of France. Soviet Foreign Minister Molotov traveled to Berlin in November of 1940 for high-level discussions on Soviet participation in the Axis. During the talks, Molotov met with Hitler and Ribbentrop. In return for joining the Axis, the Soviets were offered control over the Persian Gulf and South Asia. However, Molotov pressed for Soviet dominance over Finland, Bulgaria, and the Dardanelles, a demand that was unacceptable to Hitler. While Germany sought Soviet resources for its ongoing war against Britain, Stalin was unwilling to compromise Soviet ambitions in Eastern Europe. The failure of the Berlin talks in November of 1940 marked the beginning of the end of the German-Soviet cooperation. Hitler, already skeptical of Stalin's long-term intentions, had been planning an invasion of the Soviet Union for months. The failure of the talks only reinforced his belief that the war with the Soviet Union was inevitable. On the 18th of December 1940, Hitler issued Directive Number 21, codenamed Operation Barbarossa, setting the stage for Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June 1941. The German-Soviet War lasted until the 9th of May 1945. Of the estimated 85 million deaths attributed to World War II, around 30 million occurred on the Eastern Front, including 9 million children. The battles on the Eastern Front of World War II constituted the largest military confrontation in history. In the war, no theater was more grueling and destructive than the Eastern Front. However, it is a little-known fact that there were Soviet and German peace feelers during the war, basically until the Battle of Kursk. They never came to anything, primarily because the battlefield developments appeared to have affected what the two dictators were willing to alternatively offer and accept. After Barbarossa's failure before Moscow, the Germans and Soviets began to think about a negotiated settlement. Hitler had expected a quick summer victory. This did not occur, but the German army had suffered significant losses. Not only did Germany not obtain the oil and other strategic materials, but the Anglo-Americans were now arming to renew the war in the West. Hitler now had what he had always said was the greatest mistake of the German strategy in World War I, a two-front war. From Stalin's point of view, the situation was dire. He had survived the German blow, but the Red Army had been dealt a grievous blow, and the Germans controlled most of the best food production farmlands of the Soviet Union. So, there were plenty of reasons to negotiate a peace settlement. This move would not have been unprecedented. The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk was a separate peace treaty signed on the 3rd of March 1918 between Soviet Russia and the Central Powers, by which Russia withdrew from World War I. Under the terms of this treaty, Russia lost control of Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, and the Baltics. Joachim von Ribbentrop, who had argued against Operation Barbarossa, constantly suggested Hitler a separate peace with Stalin. Love diving deeper into military history? This video is supported by my YouTube members who get exclusive videos weekly, not available anywhere else for their kind support. You can join their ranks easily. Just hit the join button now to get the exclusive videos and much more. Thank you for supporting me. I couldn't be doing it without your help. If you want to know more about Germany's panzer tactics, check out my ebook in the description. Initial negotiations did indeed take place in the spring of 1943 in Stockholm, the capital of the neutral Sweden. After the Battle of Stalingrad, the German forces retook Kharkov by March of 1943. The Soviet people at the time were close to starvation, so it is not unrealistic to think that even Stalin would have considered a way of ending the war with a separate peace and let the Western Allies fight with the Germans. After all, that was the very idea of the earlier Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Apparently, the Soviets were suggesting a late April meeting at a location outside Stockholm, in which the two ambassadors to Sweden, Alexandra Kollontai and Hans Thomsen, may have participated. However, no agreement was reached and the talks were broken. A separate peace between Germany and the Soviet Union before the Battle of Kursk would have drastically altered the course of the war and reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the 20th century. For Germany, a peace agreement with the Soviet Union would have freed up vast military resources, allowing the German army to reinforce the Western Front, North Africa, or even pursue a renewed offensive in other strategic theaters. Hitler could have redirected 100 divisions from the Eastern Front to defend against the impending Anglo-American invasion of Italy and France. This would have made Operation Overlord, the D-Day landings in June of 1944, significantly more difficult and potentially unsuccessful, extending German resistance for years. Additionally, Germany might have been able to stabilize its economy, as the cessation of hostilities in the East could have allowed better exploitation of Soviet raw materials. This would have strengthened the German war machine and prolonged the conflict considerably. A peace treaty with Germany would have had profound consequences for the Soviet Union as well. While it would have allowed Stalin to consolidate Soviet control over recaptured territory, it would have also given the Germans time to rebuild their strength. Furthermore, such a peace could have led to internal political instability in the Soviet Union, as Stalin's legitimacy was heavily tied to total victory over Germany. Moreover, the Soviet Union would have lost its moral high ground with the Allies. The Western powers, particularly the United Kingdom, might have viewed Stalin's decision as a betrayal, leading to strained relations. This could have resulted in reduced military aid through the Lend-Lease program, hindering the Soviet recovery and modernization. For the Western Allies, a German-Soviet peace would have been a nightmare scenario. With the Eastern Front neutralized, Germany could have deployed more forces against Britain and the United States. The political ramifications would have been equally significant. Roosevelt and Churchill had invested heavily in the alliance with the Soviet Union, and its withdrawal would have fractured the dedicated cooperation among the Allies. It is possible that in response, the Western Allies would have sought their own peace settlement with Germany to force an end to the war. A separate peace in 1943 would have dramatically changed the post-war order. If Germany had survived longer, it might have retained part of its occupied territories, or even forced a negotiated settlement that allowed Hitler or other leaders to remain in power. This would have precluded the division of Germany, the establishment of NATO, and possibly even the Cold War as we know it. On the other hand, if Germany was ultimately defeated, but only after a prolonged struggle against the Western Allies, the post-war balance would have leaned heavily in favor of the United States and Great Britain. The Soviet Union, having sat out the latter part of the war, would have been politically and militarily weaker, making its expansion into Eastern Europe less likely. The Cold War might have been a very different conflict, or perhaps even avoided altogether. The German-Soviet separate peace before the Battle of Kursk in the summer of 1943 would have had far-reaching consequences. It could have prolonged the war, weakened the Western Allies, and drastically reshaped the post-war period. While such a scenario remains speculative, it underscores the delicate balance of alliances and the pivotal role the Eastern Front played in determining the outcome of World War II. Ultimately, the Soviet decision to fight on ensured the eventual defeat of Germany and shaped the world order that followed. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to support my channel, check out the PayPal donation link in the description or consider becoming a member. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel please and press the bell notification button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.